Hello, and welcome to day 12 of JavaScript Arrays in 30 days. We're closing in on the halfway mark, and I think that we're making some good progress in being able to start off with working with arrays in an imperative, fashion, trying to get it to where it's more declarative and we're only having to ask for what we want rather than how we're going to do it and then what we're going to get out of it. Yesterday, we worked with being able to add a new method on the arrays prototype, concatAll. And what that did was that allowed us to through for each subarray and then push those into a new results array and return that. And then what that would do is that would take one level of a array, and then that returned us a flattened array that then we were able to concat over, and then from there we were able to concat all again, which gave us a two-dimensional, three-dimensional array and squash it into a one-dimension array. And by doing that, our objective yesterday for day 11, we were able to take the box arts and get only those that had a dimension of 150 and 112. And then we were able to solve it by using map, concatAll, and filter. Now, what I would like to do is go another level further and with our approach of being able to abstract away anything along the lines of having to tell the code how to do what am I trying to say, how to do it, how to be able to dive in to the data that we want and bring out what it is that we want. And so with that is that I am looking right now at a couple possibilities that we can pull out because the one thing I found was that this concatAll, it was very difficult to line up with the mapping that I needed as I went further into each of the into each of the methods, into each of the arrays. So what I'm thinking is that we can take this and we can add another method on the arrays prototype that would allow us to where we don't have to concat all after we've mapped. So we could have an array, we can have a method that is we're going to call it concatMap, that is going to take a projection function that's going to be an array, and then we're going to do the concatAll inside of that method. So let's go ahead and start with the example of what I'm thinking here. So this is going to take a function. And so if we're looking at the code below, is that we see that it's taking a function and it's returning us it's returning us an array. So this is a projection function, return array. And so what's going to happen now is that when we return this map, and let's look at this, is that we've got a projection function. And so I know that at the end of this is that we call concatAll. Now inside of here is that we have an item. And so because for each of the arrays here, we're pulling out an item. So that's what so that's why we kind of say that when we have a list, we pluralize it, And then from anything that we're pulling out of the list, we singularize. So we're going to think of that as the item that we're pulling out. So what we're going to do is that we're going to apply the projection return to array to each of those items. And then once we do that, then we're going to concatAll. So what we're doing, so we're able to do both of these inside of this new concatMap method. And then for each of the items, so for each of these, for the movie list, for example, we're then going to apply the projection return array function to that item. And so what we'll do here is we are going to, let's concatMap. And let's see if we can't move that away. Okay, so there we're able to see that we now have taken, let's see, we've got Die Hard, Bad Boys, and Fracture. And so if we go up here, we've got Bad Boys. Why is it only showing one? Okay. So we have Die Hard. And we have Bad Boys. So we got all those open? Yep. And then we have Fracture. So it is doing what we're expecting to. Is that it's not taking in any, so we're able to take in everything and concatMap over just like we did yesterday. Now, so that has allowed us to eliminate having to do this concatAll outside here. So I'm not having to try to remember where I am doing this concatAll. Now, so if we now see here that we have another mapping with the concatAll. So what I'm thinking is that we're able to run this again. Is that right? Yeah. Let's check it out. Yeah, so you see now. So let's check it out. Let's get rid of this for now. Okay, so now you can see is that on this first concatMap is that we have done a mapping that we were able to map towards this ID, and then concatAll, where we were able to get it down to where the box art was then pushed into the array for the video. So now we are down to we're down to a two-dimensional array, and what we want to do now is go one level up into a single array. And so that should mean that when we look at this one, is that there we go. So we have taken ourselves from a three-dimensional array, from box arts to videos to the movie lists. And instead of having to remember where along the lines here, where we have to do this concatAll in order for us to be able to take that array that we are working with and be able to flatten it. So what we've done here is that we have taken a concatAll and a concatMap, and we have started to use those as methods on the arrays prototype. And then we have now started to get to a point to where we are, let me just go back here. Hold on. Just get that actual object. Okay, there it is. Whoa, sorry about this. So now what we're looking at here is that if we have not, I guess you could say, because we've already done it, introduce this concatMap, which handles being able to map and then give us a projected return array give us a projection function per se. And then once we have that value, then concat all of that into a one array. And so that's what we are able to get out of this concatAll, where we stuffed away having to go through each of the subarrays. This concatAll we know only goes 2 levels deep. So you'll see it only goes to one subarray. So that's why we're allowed to take this mapping and then we're able to apply this projection returned array. So we're going one level further down and then concatenate, running the concatAll that will then flatten it into one array. And so we had to run it twice because once we did this first concatMap, that gave us 2 arrays. And as you can see here, is that we have a videos and we have a videos. So that gave us that took us from the box arts, and that brought us to where we had a flattened 2-dimensional array of videos. And then once we did a concatMap on those videos, back up to the movie list, is that took this 2-dimensional array and that flattened those. So that did a concatAll on those, and then we were able to abstract away having to figure out here where we actually do this concatAll. So we are getting further and further along into being able to create our own methods that allow us to decipher how it is that we want to be able to get to the data that it is that we are needing without having to write so much code that there could be potential defects introduced, hard to read code, and anywhere. I mean, when I look at, if this was still map and I had to do a concatAll, I'm trying to figure out where I have to do my concatAll in order to flatten it. I have to, do quite a bit of, I have to do some thinking through the code. So just stuffing that away, then actually just using this new method, I am able to eliminate having to use the concatAll, and then I can just do the concatMap on the function that we actually introduced into the projection array that we applied to the item that is inside the mapping. So I hope that's helpful in this video, and it's certainly starting to make more sense to me as we get further along how we can find related code that we can stuff away and into new methods that we create that then will allow us to write less code. And we know it's always going to return exactly that. That's one thing about, like, with the functional program approach, is that whatever the input, it's always going to return the same output. So we know that with more confidence is that this abstraction is going to allow us to know what it is that we are going to get as our return value from this new method that we're using. So we'll move forward a little bit more tomorrow, or I can't say tomorrow, I could say the next day, day 13. I think it's day 13. And find out how we can do more abstractions and work with more complicated data structures. I appreciate your time, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.